The entire purpose of politics and the media is to draw your attention really far away to some really far away abstract level, or really high up, like politics, like national politics, world politics, etc. It's to draw your attention really far away, really far out from your immediate sphere of awareness and experience. Because your attention is like a rod of iron or something like that. Like, you can imagine it like a piece of rebar. And when you direct your will like very close to your immediate sphere of experience, it is very rigid. Like, whatever you set your attention on, or your will, it's like a rod of iron. It will yield to your attention. Yielding meaning you can penetrate it, like you can understand it, or you can affect it. But the further out you cast your attention, whether it be into time or space or simply abstraction, like when you're imagining these political intrigues on the world stage or in Washington or something like that, it's like a rod of iron where when it's short, when you keep it directed close in your immediate sphere of influence and your immediate sphere of experience, it's very rigid. But like, if you can imagine that rod of iron like a piece of rebar or something, going way far out, further and further out, until it's like a mile long, projecting out a mile long, it becomes more and more flexible, and it can be manipulated. Your attention can be bent around to the point where if you project your attention far enough out, if you had a metal rod of rebar representing your will or your attention, you can imagine if you project it far enough out, miles, a mile, 10 miles, 100 miles out, it becomes so flimsy and flexible that it can be bent almost probably all the way around back onto yourself, onto its own beginning. And basically that feeling, that the manipulation is always accomplished through fear. Fear is what you feel when you project your attention out into the future, or really far out into, basically the future, into abstraction, something that you have no personal experience of. It's very far away from your own sphere of immediate experience and influence. And your attention being the bending of your attention, that interference is the feeling of fear. You experience that as fear, the bending of your attention. Whereas if you keep your attention focused on your immediate experience and your immediate sphere of influence, you don't feel that fear, because it's like a rod of iron when it's kept direct and short in your own sphere. It's very hard to manipulate, so you don't feel that bending by outside forces, that manipulation of your rod of attention or rod of will. That fear is like, it's like a vibration. Like, you can imagine, like, the further out you project that rod of iron, when it gets a mile long, it becomes subject to like massive vibration. It becomes super flexible. It becomes very easy to manipulate, to push around. So you're never penetrating what you wish to penetrate. By penetrate, I mean understand or affect, exert your will upon. Whereas if it's short, if you have a 2-foot rod of iron, you can beat the shit out of everything around you effectively and mold it to your will, or penetrate it, and meaning understand it. So, like, I just view all political systems as a tool for that, just taking your power away. Like, they're all equally bad or good. They're all sophisticated enough to be equally bad or good. Like, you might hear me at sometimes say, like, something negative, call someone a communist, or GPS on, it's talking in my ear. But the truth is, like, I view all political systems are just machines. It's a machine that we construct to control people. And they should all work equally good, or, well or poorly. Capitalism or communism or whatever. They all look good on paper. But the point is, it's building a machine to control people. And whatever kind of machine you create, people need to operate the machine. Like, it's always going to be operated by people, and the people are flawed. It's like, no, we need to build, it's like building a tank. And then, like, someone's like, okay, I'll go first, and then we'll all take turns. And the first person who gets in the tank is just like, fuck you, blah, 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 I'm in charge. And just starts running everyone over, and, like, they're never going to get out of the tank because you built a tank. Like, that's what political systems are. They're machines for controlling people. And the goal of politics is to bend your will and to manipulate your attention. It's just to draw your attention really far out from your own experience. And just as an example, like Pizza Portal, like, just, the classic conspiracy of child abuse, like organized child abuse, the Pizza Portal, which I'm not saying isn't real. Clearly, that is, to me at least, that's like fundamental to how this civilization operates, the power structure. But the point is, it's drawing your attention, like, really far away into abstraction, when the truth is that's happening, like, in your immediate sphere of influence. Like, that's happening in your own neighborhood or family or group of acquaintances or whatever, like, which is where your attention should be placed, because at that level your attention and will is like a short rod of iron, where it is extremely effective in beating the shit out of whatever you want to manipulate or change in your, like, immediate environment and sphere of influence, rather than, like, in Washington D.C. or in Belgium or whatever. Like, your rod of iron is way too long at that I'm not sure what to call it, but distance of projection. It's just completely ineffective. Whereas if everyone, rather than having their attention drawn way far out into abstraction, was like, wait, what's going on in my neighborhood, in my church, with my neighbors, in my own family, and they directed their attention there. Like, if everyone did that, the problem couldn't exist. Like, the one that is really far out and really high up, because it's made possible by the local weakness of everyone's will and attention to control their own environment and basically police their own communities and environments. It's the same thing with